At the beginning of the conflict in the Middle East, the war between Iran, Israel, and the US, Cyprus was targeted. Why was Cyprus targeted? There are two bases in the UK. Who targeted Cyprus? Hello, everybody. My name is Stavros. I'm a professor of international relations and an advocate for democracy. This is Black Flag Media. This is a channel when we talk about everything that relates to the Middle East, the wars in Russia and Ukraine, democracy as a form of government that liberates people and unites humanity, people who love freedom and democracy. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on right now in the Middle East. Actually, let's talk about how things began to affect the Mediterranean, because at the very beginning, at the very early stages of the war, Cyprus was targeted. The UK has two bases in the country, and these bases are actually not sovereign bases in a contemporary sense. They're remnants of colonial era. So they're colonial era remnants that, according to the High Court of Justice in London, they are something that humanity should not accept. They are colonial elements that do not conform with modern society, free society, civilization as we know it today. Having colonial rule is something despicable. But anyway, they do have two bases in Akrotiri and Dekelia. And the first base, Akrotiri, was targeted by a drone. It seemed to be a Shahed drone. Nobody knows who launched that drone. Actually, some people do. Because we had the first declaration by the officials at the Ministry of Defense in the UK, and they said actually that that this drone was not launched from Iran. They only said that. This is really cryptic. They said that they know for certain that this drone was not launched from Iran, but they didn't tell us where was it launched from. Was it launched from Lebanon, from Hezbollah maybe? Was it launched from like a false flag attack? Maybe, I don't know, Israel launched it. It seems that they do know who launched it. And it seems that the UK sent a message to the people sending this drone against their base that we know you did it. We don't want to say to the world that you were behind it. So we're telling them that it wasn't Iran. And this is a final notice to you that if you strike us again, we will let the world know that it was you in the beginning, the first place to begin with. So that is an open-ended question, like who could do that? I don't know. What's your opinion? Who was behind this attack against the Akrotiri base? Was it the UK? Was it the US maybe, to drag everybody in this war? Because that's what happened. It seems that European countries started supporting Cyprus. Cyprus is a member of the EU. There's a collective security article in the Lisbon Treaty in the EU that an attack against one EU member, not a NATO treaty, Cyprus is not a member of NATO, but the European countries have the same kind of clause like Article number 5. It's Article 42.7 in the Lisbon Treaty, the EU treaty, that's the same basically as Article number 5, collective security and defense. So many countries rushed to Cyprus' aid, like the UK. Well, they're not in the EU, but they have their own bases there. But France did and Greece did. And let's talk about that a little bit, because Greece, what they did is we decided, meaning I'm speaking to you from Athens, Greece, with the Greek government, they decided to send weapons and support to Cyprus. Specifically, they sent 4 fighter jets, 4 F-16 fighter jets, and they also sent 2 frigates named Kimon and Psara to support Cyprus and defend the area there. I would tell you that this was something that was perfectly legal, because of, as I said, there is this Lisbon Treaty that requires other EU countries to support an EU country which is targeted, and B, because there's government in Cyprus. Cyprus is a member of the UN, is a member of the EU, and they asked support by their fellow Greeks, and they received it. There's a president named Christodoulidis, and the president, Nick Christodoulidis, he actually asked for this support. So that was perfectly legitimate. Any country, the leadership of a country can ask help and support from another country to boost their own defenses. This is completely, perfectly legal. This is what happened. So we have actually an alien in the region. We have an illegal power in the region, someone who is imperialistic and opportunistic and aggressive. I would say a pirate country, a rogue state, which is Turkey. And I'm calling them that because they decided, in reciprocity, as they said, to send 4 fighter jets, or rather 6. Greece sent 6 fighter jets in Cyprus as well, in the illegal occupied part of Cyprus. So what Turkey did in actuality is that they extended their illegal occupation of Cyprus. Remember, the Turks have invaded illegally Cyprus in 1974, 2 times actually. The first time was supposed to protect someone who was not targeted, the so-called Turkish Cypriots. And I will tell you that there is no such thing as a Turkish Cypriot. Stay with me to the end of the video. I will explain why that is. And then after the initial phase of the war was ended, there was a ceasefire and there was supposed to be negotiations for a permanent peace. They attacked again. This was, I would say, a cowardly attack while negotiations were being held. And they attacked again because they wanted to occupy, to occupy and annex part of northern Cyprus, which is, again, illegally occupied even to this very day. So they have 40,000 troops the Turks have in the island. They have brutally massacred residents, people there. Even people who are called Turkish Cypriots are afraid of them. They have been destroying monuments, cultural heritage monuments, churches and monasteries, Greek Orthodox churches and monasteries. So this is a genocide happening in northern Cyprus. And what the Turks did now is they expanded their military footprint, and they extended their military occupation of the island. Nobody's talking about it. This is huge. Everybody's talking about Ukraine and Russia and how allegedly the invasion of Ukraine is the first military invasion in Europe after World War II. That's a complete fabrication. It's a lie. The first invasion of European land was in Cyprus in 1974. It was a double invasion by the rogue state, which is called Turkey. And now they're extending that invasion. Nobody's talking about it. So Turkey, what they have done is that they have, again, illegally occupied part of Cyprus, the northern part of Cyprus. They also created a base out of that. They put some marine drones in part of northern Cyprus, like in areas like Lefkonikos and Bogazi. They also have put some anti-aircraft installations there. They support their military vessels illegally. They also created a base in Amochostos, Famagusta, which is a Greek city, and it's supposed to be given to the refugees. That's what the UN Security Council says. But Turkey, being an illegal and pirate state, they have militarized that city port as well, and they support their vessels from there. And this is something, unfortunately, that it's not in the news as it should be. And unfortunately, the Turks, so they created the so-called Republic of Northern Cyprus, which is a pseudo-state. Nobody recognizes that but them. Actually, the UN Security Council condemned Turkey for recognizing the illegal part of Cyprus. I want you to remember that the Cypriot leadership in Nicosia, they represent the whole of the island, even the occupied part of the island. So even the occupied part of the island is a member of the UN, member of the EU, and is represented by the president, Mr. Christodoulidis. So this is crazy. This is a travesty. This is something that humanity, or at least the civilized world, should never accept. So the Turks have created a puppet state, a puppet regime. There's a puppet, a vassal called Erhurman, who is their guy in the occupied part of Cyprus, and he actually supported this notion of sending Turkish F-16s for their safety. So Turkey said, and their puppets, the so-called Turkish Cypriots, they said that we have sent these troops to support the safety of our people. From who are you? Why do you have a say in a sovereign country? This is disgraceful. I want you to remember that there are some key resolutions of the UN Security Council against the Turkish occupation of northern Cyprus, such as Resolution 541. This is on the 18th of November 1983. This is, I would say, the most significant condemnation of the Turks, where the Security Council condemned the establishment of the so-called Republic of Northern Cyprus. They said that this is legally invalid, and they called upon all states not to dare recognize any other Cypriot state besides the Republic of Cyprus. Thankfully, no other country did, besides the rogue state, which is Turkey. Also, the attempt to create this puppet regime is considered to be invalid legally, and it would contribute, as the UN Security Council said, to a further deterioration of the situation in Cyprus. But that's exactly what the Turks wanted, to further deteriorate so they can keep controlling the island, the northern part of it. Then we have Resolution 550 from on the 11th of May 1984. This was after Turkey exchanged ambassadors with the so-called northern part of Cyprus. And again, the UN Security Council condemned the illegal secessionist activities in the occupied part of the Republic of Cyprus, called on everybody not only to not recognize, but to condemn the exchange of ambassadors. And the UN Security Council condemned the exchange of ambassadors between Turkey and northern Cyprus. Also, they said that in Famagusta, as I mentioned before, only its own people, the refugees, should inhabit it. Otherwise, whatever Turkey is doing there is illegal and inadmissible. Exactly what the Turks have been doing all around our region, unfortunately. Also, let me remind you that back when the invasion happened, we had UN Security Council Resolution 353. This was in 1974. And unanimously, the United Security Council, they said that they demanded the immediate end to foreign military intervention. And they said they demanded the withdrawal of foreign troops, meaning Turkish troops, and they are still there after 50 or so more years. 52 years now, 40,000 troops, and they keep sending more weapons like these F-16s. This is a disgrace. This is really the hubris of the Turkish military and the Turkish leadership in this instance. Again, there are other resolutions like 365, 367, and these resolutions of the UN Security Council reaffirmed the need for a solution that upholds the sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity of the Republic of Cyprus, not Turkey eating up chunks of the island and the country. Also, recently as up to July 2016, we had another resolution, 2300. Again, the Security Council reaffirmed all of these relevant resolutions about Cyprus. So they updated it basically several decades after that. They updated it that the Turks should get the heck out of their troops, should get their heck out of Cyprus. So this is truly a challenge for Europe. We have the Erdogan government. They're saying that we're going to keep pushing. We're not going to leave Cyprus. We're going to keep sending troops there. We need to increase our military presence and footprint there. They say that the Greeks, they cannot defend the island. We are the only ones who can. They're against France as well. Again, France has been invited by the Republic of Cyprus, which is a full-fledged state and a member of both the UN and the EU. The Turks are afraid, and they're threatening humanity, or rather Cyprus at the beginning, that we may do more things in the area. So basically, I don't know, send more troops, invade, take another chunk of the island. This is really, really troubling, I would say. And I don't know what's going to happen, but it seems that the situation is really, really bad. So we'll see what happens, but everybody should condemn the Turkish aggression, the extension of their military aggression in the island. Again, this is actually the country Cyprus has the rotating presidency of the EU right now. So again, this is like the country who holds the presidency in the EU, and they're being attacked, and the military presence of the Turks is being increased in the island, which is again really, really challenging for people who like freedom and civilization, not the brutality of war. And then, because I said I would mention this, I would like to let you know that actually there are no Turkish Cypriots. That's a made-up term. Actually, these people were people who we call them Linovambakus, and we call them that because Linovambakus is basically two kind of clothes at the same time, wearing two kind of clothes at the same time. These are people who had to accept Islam because they were afraid of the Turks, because the Turks were trying to Islamize everybody, threatening them with beheadings and rapes and flogging and killings if they did not. Some people refused and they stayed Orthodox Christian, the Greeks. These people, they're Greeks, and they were some of them are Latin as well, and they decided to adopt the Muslim religion to make sure that they not suffer from the Turks under the Ottoman occupation. That's when they became Muslims. They frequently consumed alcohol and pork, so they were never devout Muslims. Even today, they did not attend religious services. So these people, they were never true Muslims, I would say, but they were definitely not Turks. And because of the divide and rule policies of the Britain administration, the Linopambaki were integrated into a so-called Turkish Cypriot community to make sure that their enemies for the Greeks, basically was Muslim Greeks were the enemies. So the British said, let's do divide and conquer, have them fight each other, and then have Greece fight over Turkey for these people. Again, what Turkey is doing today, especially with the so-called Turkish Cypriots, they have been expelling them massively, and they have been bringing settlers, like what Israel is doing in the West Bank, for instance, illegal settlers, the worst of the worst, jihadist, Islamo-fascist elements from Turkey to terrorize Turkish Cypriots, which is again Muslim Greeks, and also obviously destroy the cultural elements of Christianity in Greece from the northern part of the country. This is a Greek island from back in the millennia. If you visit Cyprus, you'll find ancient temples to Apollo, what have you. So yes, that's what's happening right now. I want you to know what is going on. I want you to know a little bit about the Lino Pambaki, the so-called Turkish Cypriots. We'll keep you updated on other major events happening in the Middle East. We'll give. I think we're providing a twist or another approach to what's happening that it's not in the mainstream media. That's going to be for this one, guys. Please like and subscribe if you did like this video. Keep raising the black, and I'll see you in the next one. I think there's something rather problematic in the Israeli media because allegedly the Israelis have a problem, they have a disagreement with the Turks. Turkey has been allegedly condemning Israel about their practices in Palestine, but in actuality, the Turks have been supporting Israel. They have kept the oil flowing from the Ceyhan pipeline, the Turkish Ceyhan pipeline. This is where the Azeri from Azerbaijan oil comes all the way from Turkey to Israel, and Israel has been kept afloat by this Turkish Azeri oil. So they're working with the Israelis, the Turks, as the same time that Erdogan condemns Israel, he is supporting them by giving them oil. So, that's a little bit pretentious. But what's troubling is that Israeli media and some networks and journalists, they have been actually mentioning the northern, they have been talking about northern Cyprus, not the illegal occupied part of Cyprus. So they have been talking like there is a Republic of Northern Cyprus, which is rather problematic again, as they cover this topic about having Turkish fighter jets in the occupied part of Cyprus. They're talking like there is a republic there, which is not, and it's not recognized by anyone, especially it's not organized by Israel. So that is something that I would say it's rather troublesome.